Roger, operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.
Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of The Mediator with me, your host, Brian West. He'll give you the top 8 headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Now, as usual, give you the top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made it first, followed by a movie clip, a skit, a trailer, or something that's going on in the community, or maybe some pictures. And then I'll give you the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it, folks. So let's waste no time. Oh, yeah. Let's get to it. Story number 1. Speeding money slows down. Bob Coupland has a report published November 25th explaining how speed camera revenue for the year has dropped lower than any other year. This is in Girard. This is almost word for word in the report. Now, the report goes on to say that this will mean that this will be less funds for Girard for projects and equipment. Now, the revenue decreased to $17,160 for October. Now, what got the story in is because 46% of revenue is placed in this 40% of the revenue of this money is placed in Girard's general fund. Now, camera revenue went from $1.8 million to now $544,000, folks. Thus getting the story into the top 8. That's why story number 1 made it this week. Story number 2, McDonald in the data center mix. Bob Coupland has a report published November 22nd out of McDonald, the village, adding more flavor to the data center mix. Now, the report echoes the same concerns that came out of Lordstown, that's been coming out of Lordstown in recent news. Now, I guess, but McDonald, the villagers, may be a little bit more hungrier than Lordstown residents, according to the report. Now, at least some of them may be a little hungry, because the article says that some of their landowners are ready to do business, but some do oppose the data center projects being coming to their community. But such stories have remained in top headlines. This is the first time there's that but this is the first time I've seen McDonald in the mix when it comes to data centers. Now, what got the story in is because the article ends by stating that since McDonald Steel closed, that's McDonald Steel, the business closed, the village has seen a nearly $200,000 loss in taxes and revenue. Folks, this story is still developing. That's story number 2 made it this week. Story number 3, Youngstown has a gun problem. The Mediator has a report published November 22nd explaining how a man on the city's south side of Youngstown was shot in the back while he was just driving. Now, the incident occurred at East Jefferson Avenue and Rush Boulevard. Folks, this story made it in because Youngstown has had to go as far as a shoot spotter notification system, alert system, just to curb gun violence in the city, folks. That's getting the story into the top 8. That's why story number 3 made it this week. Story number 4, YNDC gets another boost. The Mediator has a report published November 25th explaining how YNDC got $2.47 million in grants for home repairs and down payments. Now, the company has partnered with Farmers National Bank to support home repairs to 84 units of owner-occupied housing in Mahoning and Columbiana counties. Now, the entire staff report explains every bank that YNDC has aligned with in its home programs. Folks, this story is a ticking time bomb to see how this experiment irons out as time goes on, folks. Let's get the story to the top 8. That's why story number 4 made it this week. Story number 5, Insight is back in top headlines. Pat Littlewitz has a report published November 25th explaining how the state is giving Insight Trumbull until mid-December to comply with state building codes and regulations, or they will have their license revoked. The report claims that the Warren facility lacks proper heat and failed to provide appropriate patient care. Now, the entire article explains a very complex and expensive endeavor taking place just to maintain and get the hospital back up to standards. Folks, this story is still developing. So story number 5 made it. Story number 6, what happened at the Phoenix House Complex in Austintown. Dan Pompley has a report published November 25th explaining how natural gas is the reason for the Phoenix House explosion. The entire mishap caused the evacuation of 100 residents with a number of injuries. If you are on the United Way's email list, you probably got a donation email asking you if you wanted to help out help out those who have been affected. Folks, this article goes on to explain how the entire incident is still under investigation as before the airing of the show. That's why story number 6 also made it to the top 2 this week. Big B. Story number 7 of the top 2 local headlines and developing news stories that I made this week for you to keep you informed. Folks, if you do not get up this early, you can check out the show. I do upload it to the website on Monday. So if you don't get up this early, you can check out the show on the website on Monday. The website on the screen. Story number 7. Property tax reform takes shape. David Scolding has a report published November 21st explaining how property tax reform will save Ohioans $3 billion. The report goes on to explain how state lawmakers have approved landmark changes in 4 bills set to deliver relief. Folks, this story is still developing. That's my story because the property tax story is staying in top headlines. Story number 7, Big B headline, almost made it to the top. Story number 8 at the top local headline and developing news story that I made this week. Folks, if you do want to show some support, it does not take much. All you do is visit the website on the screen, buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or to sponsor a program, or you can stop at the store at 5648 Mark Street in Boardman, Ohio. See my smiling face, buy something in the store. It's as simple as that to support all the projects and the unique programs that we do try to put on here. Creativity, giving everybody a chance. Story number 8, local HUD funding cut is in top headlines. WFMJ has a report out of Youngstown explaining how HUD is considering a shift in its continuum of care program. The report by Madison Tromler of WFMJ was published November 24th. The article is straightforward, explaining how the cuts would leave hundreds with nowhere to live. That's sad. Now, this includes those with mental health problems. Now, what got the story in is because this could affect 10,000 formerly homeless households statewide. Folks, this story is still developing. So, story number 8 made to the top this week. Well, folks, are our top 8 local headlines developing news stories that I made this week. I'll be right back with the top 8 international headlines developing news stories. So don't you go anywhere. The Mediator, B. Brown West. I'll be right back.
Tune in and don't forget to subscribe to Method 8 Inc. YouTube channel. You can also watch free public entertainment. And don't forget to show some support by visiting www.method8inc.com by buying something, clicking something, watching something, or just reading something. You can also sponsor a program as well. That's www.method8inc.com. Buy stuff, watch stuff, or read stuff.
What does Method8Inc.com Media Center have that I need?
Small prints, event consulting, photography, business consulting, technical consulting, entertainment consulting, fundraising advice, event videography, movies, news, publishing, media, books, entertainment, acting, broadcasting, public relations, access to the visual and performing arts, ink and black ink refills, audio recording, graphic design, theater, minor computer and cell phone repair, and they're located at 5648 Market Street in Boardman, Ohio from 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. every Monday through Friday. The list goes on and on.
Method8Inc.com. Buy stuff, watch stuff, or read stuff.
Oh yeah! And yes, we are chipmunks.
Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made this week. Folks, this week we're highlighting the unique alter egos and unique, not just individuals, but some of us have we have this idea of who we want ourselves to be, but the good Lord designed us. Our mother and father were there in the room, and they're hoop, and they're making us. The good Lord designed each of us differently. You know, last week I have to point this out. I mentioned that it was Harvard, but it was actually MIT, where this unique guy, he found a loophole in the lottery system. So the reason why I bring this up this week is because we're seeing a lot of unique things happening in the news and in the media and around us, and it's kind of scary because some of us want to do things that we cannot. Some of us, it's just not in us to do. It's not in us, some of us, to kill somebody or hurt somebody, or when something happens, something draws us to the breaking point. I bring this up because when I was younger, I had a lot of different friends from different backgrounds, ethnicities. And I never forget when I lived in Columbiana County, I had a friend. His name was, I'm not going to mention his real name, but I'll say his name was Mr. Shea. I'll call him Shea. And he was in a relationship. And he had this alter ego, this alternate person that wanted to be a porn star. Now, this may sound nasty, but that's what he wanted to be. And he would call me with these amazing fantasies about him and what he would think about doing in these fantasies, you know. And him and his ex-wife at the time, they would get into it, you know. And he would tell me about how he would, you know, get vengeful with her. You know what to do? You don't know now. Who the little thing like me? So he'd get into it with her, you know. If everybody ever been to Columbiana County, it's like a small little quiet village where things just pop off. Sean would tell me about these visions he'd have, you know, in his room about being a porn star when his wife would get upset with him and he would just snap, you know, he wanted women. And there's nothing wrong with that. He wanted to be blessed by women. And he would talk to me about it, and I would be like, well, you know, there's nothing I can do about that. It's illegal, you know, unless you go to California or Vegas. And he would get frustrated, you know. And one time I called him, and I could hear this music in the background. I hear you calling. Here I come, baby, to save you. Sean, what you listen to? Now, Sean was a different ethnicity. But I'd heard these lyrics before. Let me take you higher and show you how you could feel, baby. Baby, you don't have to say. And I'd heard these lyrics. And that's what I knew Sean took it to another level with his wife. He got his groove back. His alter ego had turned him into a ladies' man again. And sometimes that's what we need, folks. We just need to go back to our original self, our original man. And if we have desires, just got to get our groove back. Let's waste some time, folks. Let's get to it. Story number 1. How are U.S. retailers doing during shopping season? Are they getting their groove back? Reuters has a report explaining how U.S. retail sales is cooling down. Now, this story made it in because we're headed into the biggest time of year for retailers. Now, it's important to note that not too many retailers survived the COVID meltdown not too far back, folks. This story is still developing. That's story number 1 made it this week, headed to the holidays. Story number 2. How do we explain the National Guard shooting in D.C.? The Washington Post has a report explaining how 2 National Guard members have been shot in D.C. near the White House. Now, sadly, the report before the airing of the show was saying that there was mixed reports on their condition, and I found out that the guys did pass away, folks. And this continues to the continued pressure being put on service members is what got the story in, because I used to be in that those ranks, and folks, that is not an easy job. So my heart goes out to those who lost their life serving and defending and taking orders to protect this country. Story number 2: if you've never been in that atmosphere, folks, you will never know how it is, and you will always assume. But that's a really, really tough job to serve this country. So my heart, I really, when I'm not gonna lie, I did shut down for a little while when I read the story. But story number 2, sad times we live in, big. Story number 3, Americans still need food. ABC News has a report stating that food banks and pantries are still busy even as SNAP benefits have been restored. The article goes on to explain how the increase is expected to continue through December, even through Christmas. 42 million Americans, including low-income families, are vulnerable, and vulnerable households rely on SNAP benefits. If you did not know that, folks, that's keeping the story in top headlines headed into another amazing holiday season. Story number 3, big. Story number 4, banks are making money according to some reports. Reuters has a report explaining how U.S. banks have reported a 13.5% jump in profits according to the FDIC. The number sits at $79.3 billion in the third quarter of 2025. Now, the article explains how the numbers are because of growth to non-interest income expenses, as well as banks booking smaller loss provision expenses. Now, the report cites the merger of Capital One and Discover Financial. The report goes on to talk about high past due rates on some types of loans like commercial, real estate, auto, and credit card loans, which sit at 4.18%, which is down. Now, the fact that the banks are seeing profits is what seems like a sad situation for a number of Americans, because when it comes to finances, that's what got the story, because a lot of Americans are not seeing their finances grow, and when the banks are growing, some of them can't get loans. I'm sure you know how that cycle goes. That's why story number 4 made it this week. Well, folks, are our top 4 international headlines developing news stories that made this week. I'll be right back to top 4. So don't you go to the Mediator with me, Brian West. I'll be right back. Folks, if you do want to show some support, it does not take much. You can stop at the store at 5648 Mark Street in Boardman, Ohio, and buy something from the store. Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that I made this week. Folks, this week we're highlighting unique individuals, unique people. We are all made differently, and we all aspire to be this person inside of our head, you know. And some of us want to be superheroes, you know. That's why I used the theme of this show. When I was a kid, I used to like superhero movies. And some of us want to be the president. Some of us want to be Jesus. Some of us want to be the devil. And you know, it's amazing how we can creatively grow into these individuals. And we all have this alter ego, you know. And I was talking to you about my buddy, I'll call him Mr. S or Shay, I'll say that, and how he desired to be a porn star. And he in his mind, he wanted to be what he was seeing inside of that screen, and he wanted to be hammered away on some lovely young lady or something, and that's what his vision was. And then he got his groove back. But now we're digging into something deeper here, folks. People are becoming delusional, as one would say, where they have this idea of who they want to be. I've been on YouTube, and I got the chance to see these atheists. They're giving their take about how they don't believe in God, and they're really harsh, brutal about their stance. And some of these guys are thinking about the devil and stuff. You know, folks, I have to mention this because the Bible is a very amazing historical book, and there's so many different takes on it, but it creates these feelings in us that spontaneously emerge over time, where we may think we know, I mean, we may assume that we know, but none of us really know. But science tries to lay things out, but they don't even know. So you get these people who spontaneously make it out to be as if it's an enemy, where this is the only book that tracks the genealogy or where we all came from, and the only proof we have is that the pyramids are still standing. But everybody's getting all excited and violent. Kill, kill, kill. Defend, defend, defend. Peace, war. For years and ages, this has happened where people just want to fight or talk about debates about critical thinking and the pussification of mankind and all this stuff, King David and everything. But folks, but the thing is, something went down. And the more we aspire to be something that we're not, we are just who we are. Folks, my uncle is a nasty man. He likes nasty things. When you're around him, he's a proper, loving guy, but deep inside, we're all nasty. Ooh, ooh. We're all nasty human beings. Even when we have knowledge, there is still a beast inside of us that wants to explode. There's only one president. There's only a few rap stars and people who we probably aspire to be that we see on TV, but they are them and we are we. Yes. Folks, where is sweet chocolate when you need it? Let's waste no time, folks. I hope that makes sense to you. Only one person can be Jesus, prophets, but we can all aspire to be like our brothers and sisters. And if we want to melt that sweet chocolate, then that's what we desire to do. Oh, yes, sweet chocolate. Let's waste no time, folks. Let's get to it. Story number 5. Paycheck to paycheck syndrome continues. Fox Business has a report explaining how nearly 1 in 4 American households are living paycheck to paycheck. What got the story in is because Bank of America Institute has the number sitting at 34%, 95% of, but it goes on to say 95% of Americans' income is being spent on housing, groceries, gas, utilities, internet plans, public transit, and child care, leaving them with little to nothing left, folks. The report goes on to explain how inflation is connected in this condition. Folks, how government can help is, well, it has this story trending because right now, that debt is serious. Story number 5, big. Story number 6. What is the healthcare issue? The Hill is keeping the healthcare story in top headlines. The report states that Trump's emerging healthcare plan could put GOP leaders in a bind. The report brings the Affordable Care Act, which was enacted by former President Obama, back in the spotlight. Now, the report blames the act for exploding deficit spending and increasing healthcare costs. Now, the entire report puts the American citizen on notice when it comes to health and healthcare spending, folks. The subsidies, which expire in January, will threaten healthcare costs for roughly 22 million Americans, folks. The story states that it puts the Republicans in a no-win situation, folks. This story is still developing. That's my story number 6. Also made to the top 2 this week. Big. Story number 7 in the top 2 international headlines developing news stories that made this week. For you, keep you informed, folks. If you do not get up this early, you do want to check out the show. If you just want to get updated on the news, period, you can check out the show on the website on the screen on Mondays. I do upload the show to the website on YouTube. Story number 7, Trump's economy remains in top headlines. Axios has a headline explaining how more Republicans disapprove of Trump's economy. The report is a hit for Trump. It was a hit for Trump. It explains, I guess it just kind of lays it out because it's a hit towards his his popularity right now, at least in some circles, not all. Now, it explains how voters increasingly blame his policies for rising prices. Now, it's clear that the Trump administration has their hands full right now. Trump's approval on the economy has fallen to 36%, which is down 51%. Folks, Trump could pull the Bush card with a potential $2,000 stimulus checks. Folks, the story is still developing. This is story number 7. Also made to the top of this week. Big. Story number 8 and the top international headline and developing news story that I made this week for you to keep you informed. Folks, if you do want to show some support at me and my adventures here at the Method 8 Corporation or the Method 8 Resource Center, you can always stop in and buy something in the store, or you can stop on the website, buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, order a sponsored program. Let's get to this top story. Story number 8. Folks, costs keep going up. Inflation. NPR has a report stating that the college sticker price tag is still rising. The report explains how prices to attend public and private colleges have doubled, all due to inflation. Folks, this situation has echoed across the board in many other industries as well. Construction, housing, just a bunch of other medical. Folks, this is keeping the inflation story on top headlines. That's what story rate made to the top this week, because when you're talking money, you're talking problems. More money, more problems. Less money, more problems, folks. Story number 8, big headline. Well, folks, our top 8 local and international headlines developing news stories that I made in this week. I hope you got something out of today's program. I always get something out of doing the research. As usual, I thank all the news outlets, journalists, people on the front lines. You deserve all the credit. I'm just the media, the man in the middle, navigating your news stories just to keep people informed. Folks, if you do want to show some support, it does not take much. Show this middleman. All you have to do is visit the website on the screen, buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, order a sponsored program, or you can stop by the store at 5648 Mark Street in Boardman, Ohio, and see my smiling face, folks. Well, folks, I am out of here. We are headed into December, the Christmas season, so I hope you have a good week, good shopping, safe shopping. If you celebrate it, I am out of here. Have a good week, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to the Mediator. Be Brian West. Peace.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.